How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to dive into the Warframe universe and see what all the hype is about. First, we'll look at what the new player experience is currently like in the game. Then, we'll go over the core gameplay loop you can expect to encounter while grinding your character out towards endgame, before giving an overall summary on whether or not I think Warframe is worth your time in this day and age or not. But first, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out massively. Now, let's get into it. For a while now, I've been constantly hearing how great Warframe is, and the player numbers are amazing for a game that's over 11 years old as well. Plus, the fact that it's free is just another massive bonus for the game. The few times previously I've tried Warframe out, I was busy with other things and didn't give it a proper go, dropping the game before giving it a fair chance. So I figured this time out, I'd sit down, fully focused, play through the game, soak up the lore, do some extra research on it, and let you know my honest opinion on the game and if it's worth playing. To start off with, we'll go over how the new player experience currently is in Warframe. To do this, I went ahead and made a fresh account, and right off the bat, the login screen Warframe chose to go with is top notch. Clean, to the point, and the music is amazing. It really puts you in the mood for some epic gameplay. Once you log in, you're immediately thrown into a stunning, action-packed intro cutscene that gives you a concise recap of what's going on. The bad guys, the Grineer, are here attacking the planet, and in a last-ditch effort, a lady awakens you, a Tenno, to help save the planet. You're then given an awesome show of each of the 3 possible Warframes in combat, before being asked which one you want to start off as. This was one of those incredibly difficult moments in gaming, as they all look like so much fun, but I went with Excalibur, as it suits my run and gun playstyle the most. Luckily, every one of these Warframes can be attained in the future on one account, so you don't have to make multiple characters to experience them all, and the game really incentivizes trying different kinds of playstyles. I also love how much detail they gave you in the Warframe selection menu. You get a brief description of the frame, and then you can see how all their skills work, not only via text, but with a video display as well, so you can really know which one looks more like your gameplay style. I have to say, up to this point, from the login menu to the intro cutscene to the character selection screen, Warframe has done an exceptional job. It gives the new player experience so far a 10 out of 10. Bruh. But once you select your Warframe, you're thrown right back into the cutscene, introducing you to the first big bad guy you need to take out, Captain Vor, before being given control of your character. From there, they have you fight your way to this new villain, while slowly introducing you to all of the mechanics, and boy do they have a lot of fun mechanics in this game. It takes a while to get used to it, and for everything to click, but once you get the hang of it, it's insane. I found playing with mouse and keyboard a bit strange, so I opted to use my controller instead, but maybe that's just me. I'm more accustomed to a controller for shooter games. The tutorial missions do a great job at one by one introducing you to various weapons and abilities, giving you a few enemies to practice them on, then moving you on to the next thing. I started off with the choice between a sword and a staff, which I went with a sword, which feels incredibly powerful and satisfying when you cut through opponents with it. Next up, I was given the option of throwing knives or pistols, and I decided to go with the pistol, just to feel how gunplay was in the game. And it's also very satisfying. Everything is extremely responsive, and swapping between melee and gunplay is seamless. And then, finally I was given the choice of an assault rifle or a bow for my main weapon. Since I already had a gun, I figured I'd try out the bow, which is more of a stealth weapon. The bow is so much fun. It feels so good headshotting enemies, even though pretty much anywhere you hit them, it's a one-shot anyways in the lower level areas. Everything seems to be one-shottable in the first mission, but it works well, allowing you to feel really powerful while learning the ropes. Once you're introduced to all of the basics, and have your weapons chosen, you get introduced to some of the movement mechanics, and that's where things pick up in speed. Combining your slides, big jumps, and gliding can lead to incredibly fast-paced combat that feels really satisfying, and unlike any kind of combat I've ever experienced before in any previous games. The better you get at combining all these things, the quicker you'll be flying around the map and wiping out your enemies. It's got quite a high skill curve, but it really feels great, and rewarding the better you get at it. Eventually though, you make it to the extraction point, get introduced to your quirky ship AI, Ortis, and get extracted into space, where you'll find yourself alone on your ship. This is your kind of player hub, where you do everything in Warframe from. You will then spend some time being sent on missions to get your ship back fully functional. The mission types vary slightly, but these are quick and easy to get through, usually taking a couple of minutes each to complete. I even had a random person join me on my second mission, which made things insanely easy, but just going around and getting better with the movement made it feel worthwhile, even if there wasn't that much combat due to my teammate running ahead of me and wiping out everything before I could get to it. One by one, at the end of every mission, you get introduced to a new function you could do on your ship, much like how the first mission introduced you to weapons and movement slowly but effectively. I eventually unlocked the arsenal, which allowed me to upgrade my weapons with mods, making them more powerful, and even customize my Warframe. There's tons of cool looking ways you can make your frame look awesome, but because I just started, I had nothing unlocked yet, so I simply put a few dyes on my guy to make him look less generic. I went for a red and black look, and by the end, I got a real Deadpool vibe from him. But with my Warframe all decked out, I got back to grinding my missions. Eventually you'll make your way through the Earth missions until you finally come face to face with your nemesis, Captain Vor. Once you defeat him, it's kind of like the end of the tutorial, and you're told to choose whatever it is you want to do next. This is where the game really stops holding your hand and lets you play the game the way you feel like playing it. As a completionist, I found myself just clearing planets and going through the star chart, slowly getting better with my Warframes and getting closer to maxing them out. A really big moment I think all new players will be wowed by is when you arrive in your first player hub. These are cities scattered around the universe that you can go to trade, and there are other real players running around them. My first time experiencing one of these was amazing, as after the first few missions you go through, I didn't expect Warframe to have anything like this in it. My amazement went one step further when I accepted a bounty mission, and you're sent out into a massive open world to go complete it, and you'll see other players all around doing the same thing. This was a great spot to practice all of the skills I was learning, and it was awesome seeing high-level players fly by on all kinds of strange vehicles. It really had me looking forward to unlocking some of those features. I'd have to say, out of all the hubs I've been to so far, Fortuna had been my favorite thus far. The people, the vibe, the music, it's just all so unique and sensational. But after grinding away for days on my new account, it was starting to feel like I was approaching mid-game, and basically, how I've been going about improving my account thus far is by going through from planet to planet, grinding out missions to get resources, and then using them in the Foundry to research cool and fun new ways to play the game, like new weapons, warframes, and much more. This alone has been incredibly fun, because there's always goals you can set and accomplish, and when you accomplish them, the rewards are very satisfying. Like for example, there's this awesome kind of hoverboard you can unlock, and then use it to get around the world quicker. You can even do awesome tricks on it. It's like having SXX, the old snowboarding game, right inside Warframe. Or there's this like jetpack you can unlock, and suddenly you can be flying around the world, completely changing the way you play the game. All of these things you can work towards, research, and then finally unlock are very rewarding, and there's tons of these features throughout Warframe that are just so much fun to work towards, and I'm constantly finding myself going, wow, I didn't think I'd be doing this in this game. Despite how rewarding all these items and features can be, it would all be repetitive and tedious after a while if you weren't having fun playing the game. But because the combat on Warframe is so unique, fast-paced, and diverse, you never get bored while playing, even if you're doing the same mission for the 100th time. It reminds me of some of the crazy builds I can make in Cyberpunk, but then like times 10. Plus, like I mentioned before, the game really encourages you to get out of your comfort zone and try all of the amazing frames and weapons the game has to offer. The way they do this is by their leveling up system. Essentially, everything in Warframe you use and do gives you experience as you rank it up that contribute to your mastery level, which is like your overall level. So for example, your weapons, abilities, and warframes can all be leveled up, but if one of those things hit their max level, they are no longer contributing to your mastery level. So in order for you to continue leveling up, you'll need to find another weapon, warframe, or ability to use instead of the one you already have maxed out to continue getting experience. This has you basically trying out everything the game has to offer on your way to max level, and then once you get there, you will know what you had the absolute most fun with, and stick with that for the remainder of your playtime. Or, you could always continue to keep switching it up with multiple builds depending on what activity you're doing. There's also some great, deep lore for you along the way as well, while you're out there grinding. But I find YouTube videos explain the lore a bit better than the game itself. The cutscenes are always outstanding though. Recently, a whole new way to play the game has been added into Warframe called the Duviri Paradox. This mode gives you a whole new world to play in, more stuff to do and collect, and even a flying horse, all while leveling up your mastery level even further. This mode becomes available shortly after you complete the tutorial, and you can find it at the top right of your start chart. A couple weeks into playing, I figured I'd jump in and check it out, and the story was really interesting, but I did find the character you create and use in Duviri isn't as fun to play as the Warframes. But I did hear that if you stack enough perks on him, you can get some pretty crazy builds, but it just felt a little bit too slow for me, so after completing the story, I went back to my Warframe. I also heard this mode is a great way to unlock more gear and get more mastery ranks, so I'm sure I'll be coming back to it more in the future. But for now, I wanted to get back to the faster Warframe combat. If you're new to Warframe, I would recommend coming to this mode last, after you have a solid understanding of the game, because if not, it might confuse you. But I would highly recommend trying it out at some point or another. And the fact that it's free content given to a community of a free-to-play game, it's just so generous of the developers. But I had now put in a significant amount of time with the game and was wondering what was to come from endgame in Warframe, and how far off it is. So I went online and did a bit of research, and from what I could gather, endgame is kind of a meme at the moment, as it's different for everyone, and there's not really a definitive endgame. Some might even say there is no endgame in Warframe. Other people would consider endgame to be maxing out all the warframes and weapons, some stick to the star charts, clearing every planet on max difficulty, others just go for the coolest cosmetics to make their Warframe look insane. There's even those rare few who only PvP. There's a ton of things you can do at endgame that'll keep you busy, and it's up to you to decide how you want to endgame, but there's no real defined endgame. Nevertheless, let's look at the things you can do towards endgame in a bit more depth. I have yet to experience endgame, so take everything I say with a pinch of salt, and any Warframe veterans, feel free to correct me in the comments, but this is what I could gather from a few hours of videos and reading comments about the endgame online, and I am very much looking forward to reaching the endgame as soon as possible. If you're a person who wants endgame to be all about PvP, sadly, the endgame PvP is pretty lackluster in Warframe. There's several PvP game modes that look good on paper, like Annihilation, which is a 1v all game mode, and then there's a 4v4 team deathmatch game mode, a 3v3 kind of capture the flag game mode, and Lunaro, the more gamey mode, where you're trying to throw a ball through your opponent's hole.
What?
Kind of like Quidditch, if you're a Harry Potter fan. Although they all sound fun enough in theory, there isn't much of an active player base for the PvP in Warframe, plus the balancing isn't up to par, which leaves the battles feeling underwhelming. It's hard to blame the developers though, because balancing everything, when they have so many kinds of weapon combinations and Warframes that do so many crazy kinds of abilities, sounds like it would be next to impossible. With such quick and unpredictable movement in the game, PvP is pretty much impossible without an AoE build, but it is there, even if no one plays it. So in short, there's PvP, but it's nothing to write home about, so if you're all about PvP, maybe this isn't the game for you. If you're more of a PvE player though, there's lots more options out there for you. For starters, there's a really in-depth clan system, so you can join up with a clan, make friends, and play more Warframe with them. Plus, being a clan is essential to get some resources you'll eventually need to level your mastery rank. You can go through, completing all the planets within the start chart on the highest difficulty, whilst maxing out all of your Warframes and equipment, going the completionist route, or you can simply hunt cool cosmetics to take your Warframe fashion game to the next level. There's also raids, isolation vaults, Kuvalich encounters, Eidolon hunts, Archeon hunts, Netra cells, operations, K-Drive races, Railjack missions, and tons more activities you can be doing at endgame that will for sure keep you busy. But it's just a game where the endgame is kind of what you want it to be. It's not defined like it is in other MMOs, but there for sure is tons and tons of options out there for you at endgame, and that's amazing coming from a game that's free to play. All in all, I'd say Warframe is 100% worth your time. Whether you're a looter-shooter enjoyer or hack-and-slash fan, there's a bit of everything in Warframe. Heck, there's even space battles if that floats your boat. The amount of unique content in this game that I've never seen before in other games is astonishing. It's also cross-platform with crossplay, and it's even cross-save, so not only can you play and trade with your friends, if you have any, on all different platforms, but you could even link your account across multiple platforms, so one day you could be chilling on the couch playing some Warframe on your console, the next you could be grinding out some content at your desk on your PC, all with the same character and progression. But if you're still not convinced, it's free, so what do you got to lose? I don't think I've ever seen a free game with so much quality content in it before. I am by no means a Warframe expert, I only have around 300 hours of playtime so far, so if anything I mentioned in this video is wrong, feel free to correct me, but I'm loving this game so far. I've given the game a go a couple times previously, never getting into it, but this time I spent a lot more time with the game for the creation of this video, and I've gotta say I'm hooked, and plan on playing a lot more of this game in the future, even after the video is finished. There's very few games out there that provide as much fun as Warframe does, and all for free, so if you're never giving it a go, I 100% recommend it. You've got nothing to lose, and for those of you former Warframe players out there that are thinking about coming back, if you've yet to run through the Duviri Paradox, then come back for sure. It's like a whole new game for you to play through, it's an amazing story. And if you don't end up enjoying Warframe, well, it's free, so you can always uninstall the game without having your wallet take a hit. But that brings an end to the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It helps out massively. But until next time, have a good one. Thanks for watching another video. If you'd like to see me check out Cyberpunk, click on the video to the left. Or if you'd like to see me check out Guild Wars 2, click on the video to the right. And a massive shout out to all the channel members and patrons who support the channel, seen on screen now. Links to how to become a member are in the video description below.